All right, welcome back. For those of you who have watched the first video in the series, we're on video number 2 now. For those of you who have just joined us for the first time, my name is Ken Abramowitz. I am the CEO of the Ken Abramowitz Group of RE/MAX. And with me today we have Scott Broussard, who is a home inspector, works for ProTec Inspections. So we're going to talk to Scott a little bit about the home inspection, which is really become such an important part of the transaction. And we always tell our buyers that buying a home it's super exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking at the same time, a little bit of stress. The home inspection is probably one of the most anxiety-provoking parts of the transaction. Scott's here to answer some questions that a lot of our buyers have, and again, with the end goal of making this a more pleasant experience for our buyers. So with that being said, Scott, tell me a little about yourself. How long have you been doing this?
So I have been doing actual home inspections for about 6 years now, but it feels like it's been a lot longer than that.
And he means that in the nicest way. He loves
in the
his work.
nicest way. I mean that because ProTec, it is a family-owned and operated business. So I have truly been around it my entire life. You know, even growing up when I was still in school, you know, I'd run around with my uncle, run around testing all the outlets in the house. So I've been around it truly my whole life.
So that's a kid's dream, running around and sticking things in the outlets.
Exactly.
That's awesome. How many homes would you say you inspect in a given year?
So I'd say on average, I'm usually inspecting a little over 500 inspections in a year.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
500 homes in a year. So I'd say you're qualified
It's up there.
to talk
It's
about
up
this
there.
subject. That's perfect. So I'm a first-time buyer. I want to hire a home inspector. I know a lot of first-time buyers, we start going on the internet, all that stuff. How do you differentiate, like, what sort of things would you look for that makes a home inspector good? Like, how would I know?
So I think the biggest part is doing your research. You know, unfortunately, anyone can become a home inspector. All it takes is taking an 80-hour course and then passing the state test.
Oh, really?
That's it. And you know, go online, check out their websites, read the reviews about that company in particular, and even give their office a call. You know, when you talk to someone in person, you can usually find out who the good companies are versus the not so good companies.
What are some things now that's interesting that you say, like, are there some sort of red flags maybe that if you're talking to somebody on the phone or you're on the website that will go, uh-oh?
Yeah, so the first thing that would give me a red flag is if you called the company and that they did not answer, or they answered and let's say the home inspector was doing a home inspection. You know, if it's just, most of the inspectors are just one-man team. And you know, you don't want a guy that's doing an inspection and answering the phone, trying to schedule things at the inspection. So usually it's a good sign when they pick up any time of the day, and they can have the calendar right in front of you, give you all the information that you need. And
that's an interesting point you just said, because if you're doing a home inspection and I'm a buyer and I'm sitting here like, you know, what's wrong with my house? And then you're answering a phone, scheduling things. As a buyer paying you money for inspection, that would be a little irritating.
Yep.
So that's
distractions
actually really
are not good on a home
no,
inspection.
No, it's not. How many people work at ProTec? I understand it's a sizable company.
Yeah. So you know, when I first started 6 years ago, it was my uncle, my brother, myself, and then we had one outsider inspector out of the family. Now we have 9 full-time inspectors, but we also have 3 more that are in training. And we're actually trying to get a few more up and running as well.
Awesome.
And then there's about 10 ladies that we have in the office.
From an administrative,
exactly.
Administrative function. Wow. And you guys do pretty much everything. I mean, you do home inspections, you do termite inspections, radon.
Yep.
What else did I leave
mold
out?
sampling.
Mold.
And we can even do pool inspections, lead sampling. We can do water testing.
So you guys are truly full service. You don't have to hire 5 companies to do all the different.
Yeah, because you know the stress of all this, trying to find the house, and then you got to try to schedule to have your inspector there, your termite guy there, the radon guy there.
Exactly. And if you're on well and septic, you got to come back and do the water.
Exactly. So we always try to just make it easier, get everything done all at once.
Perfect. That's excellent. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, when I look on your site, and this might dovetail onto we just talked about how to choose a good inspector or somebody who's competent. I keep seeing this badge on your site, ASHI. What is that?
So that is the ASHI badge.
Okay.
So ASHI, it stands for the American Society of Home Inspectors. It holds inspectors around the entire country to a higher standard. compared to just the state guidelines. So when you do get an inspector that is ASHI certified, it lets a buyer know that they are getting an experienced home inspector,
Good.
as well as someone who has went through a ton of training.
Okay, so that's sort of, again, differentiates you guys as
Exactly.
being top-tier home inspectors.
Exactly.
Okay. Again, I'm a first-time buyer, never bought a home before. This is exciting / stressful. What sort of things, I'm getting ready to do the home inspection, and I sort of in a sadistic way, we tell our buyers, this beautiful home that you love, you're about to pick it apart.
Right,
into a million pieces. What should I expect from the inspection? Like what advice, before the inspection, what advice would you give me as far as what to expect?
So we are always going to find, on average, a few dozen issues on any house. You know, some of those items, they will be important, you know, things that are going to need attention immediately versus some things that you will need to budget for in the near future, or even things that are considered just normal maintenance.
Okay.
You know, the majority of the issues typically are considered minor, and you know, by minor I mean things that are not going to be expensive to take care of, or real labor intensive to take care of, or considered just to be normal maintenance, or
Okay.
even cosmetic.
So as a first-time buyer, it's not really realistic for me to go in and go, I hope there's nothing wrong with this house. That just doesn't happen.
That is truly impossible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even with new construction, because
Yeah.
we've done some with you, and even new construction has
Exactly.
issues. So there's no such thing as a.
Yeah, you know, I've done truly thousands of home inspections at this point,
Yeah.
and absolutely none of those have came back with 0 issues. It doesn't matter if it's an extremely well-maintained house or if it's a brand new house coming from a builder. We're always going to find some issues.
Okay, and I think you had touched on it before. Like as long as the majority of them are minor, cosmetic.
Right.
Is there, for lack of a better term, like is there like things that you would normally expect to see in an inspection, like you see in a lot of homes?
Yeah.
It shows up constantly.
Well, you know, there's going to be definitely a good list of repairs needed. You know, some of those things, again, are going to need attention immediately versus things that may be able to wait a few years. Or honestly, there's usually a good chunk of those that will likely never get attended to the entire time someone owns
Right.
a property.
Right.
You know, there's always going to be some things in there. As far as the normal goes, you know, it really depends on the age of the house, the
Okay.
area, and then from there we usually can figure out the norm for like a certain neighborhood or a certain age of a house.
Gotcha. So kind of building on that, you know, like you said, several dozen things will show up on an inspection.
Yep.
What sort of items should a buyer be concerned about? Like you had mentioned ones that like need to be dealt with right now.
Right.
Like what are typical examples of these things? This is.
So yeah, to me, things that are going to be the more important things on an inspection is, let's say, items that if not corrected could potentially cause more problems down the road.
Okay.
The big ticket items, and then safety issues are always high on the list as well.
Okay.
You know, it's easy since we do throw dozens of things at a buyer at once. It's easy to get caught up in these smaller things and lose focus on the more important items. So things that could potentially cause further harm to the house, big ticket items that could cost thousands of dollars, and safety issues.
So we're talking about like when you say big ticket, roof, heating and air conditioning.
You know, for me, the structure is always priority number one. You know,
Okay.
if that house is not structurally sound, really nothing else in the house
we can't
matters.
have that. Yeah.
Right.
A house
And
of
then
cards.
roof is huge, HVAC, major plumbing, major electrical,
Okay.
water in the basement. You know, those are really the highlights of the house.
Okay. So those are the things that if you find them, we should get those dealt with.
Right.
One of the things that's real important to buyers, especially first-time buyers, is having an inspector who is just meticulous and doesn't miss things and sees everything. And that's usually reflected in the report.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about what kind of report do you generate? How long is it? What's on there?
So, you know, with the home inspection, you know, while I'm going through the house, I'm going to be taking notes and photos of truly everything inside of that house. Afterwards, I will be heading back to our office, and I'm going to compile all this information into a very long and very detailed PDF report. And I usually get these reports sent out the same day, later that evening.
Awesome.
Report itself is going to be going through just the general information of the house, the overall condition, of course, the issues that need to be attended to, recommendations, photos, all that good stuff included. Our average report is typically 35 to 40 pages long.
Yeah, it's pretty meticulous.
It's a booklet.
Yeah. That's good reading. If people want to see an example of your report, is there a place where they can go get one?
Absolutely. We do have a few sample reports for different structures, such as a single-family home or a townhouse or even a condominium on our website.
Okay, and we'll have a link below the video for the website. So, again, thank you again for, helping us out with this. And I ask every person that we've had in these videos, you've been doing this a long time, you've seen a lot of homes. What advice would you give to a first-time buyer from your viewpoint as a home inspector to kind of help make this a more pleasant experience?
So my advice would be to try to keep things in perspective. It can be extremely overwhelming, falling in love with the house and then hiring me to come through and highlight every negative in a short period of time. I think it's extremely important that afterwards that we take these negatives, but we also weigh them out with the positives, just so that we can make sure that this is the right home for you.
So in other words, and it is always like that. So like if somebody has a home, let's say overall it's great and it's got these three things, you have to look at all the great things. This home's got new windows, new roof, new this, but it has an old heater or something.
Right.
You got to weigh everything else against.
Exactly,
Okay.
and sometimes everything in the house itself could be a whole negative, but let's say one single positive is the location or the sales price of the house. Even that could outweigh.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen ones
house.
where recently we did one where the land was incredible.
Yeah.
So sometimes that has
absolutely
as well. Scott, if somebody wants to get hold of you to maybe ask you questions or even hire you for an inspection, how do they get hold of you? Email, phone?
Yeah, so you can give our office a call. We have someone on the phones. You can call at midnight. We usually encourage a go at normal business hours, but you can call truly at any time. We will have someone picking up the phone and sending an email. We can always be contacted that way as well.
So the best thing is just to go ahead and email the email and company phone?
Yeah, so email is good, but if you need something immediately and you want to schedule, it is the busy season right now, so if you do want to schedule, usually a phone call is the best way, just so we can try to get that job scheduled as soon as possible.
Perfect. Scott, thank you very much. I appreciate all your help. If you guys have any questions on home inspections, this is your man. Reach out to him.